Man falsely accused of Linden GCOM fire to sue state. Jamaican Talawa owner building shore base on the West Bank. 11 arrested for beating pandit to death. And government yet to declare final cost of gas to shore project. I am Noriko Bulford and welcome to tonight's edition of Uncut News. The state employee who the cops accused of burning down the GCOM office in Linden said that he is suing the police. 51-year-old driver William Roy Marshall said that he and his family was left traumatized when the cops came onto his property late at night and hauled him into the lockups. He was there for over 72 hours on the suspicion that he was the mastermind behind the fire. He planned to sue, citing character assassination, seeing as they told the media that he did it, wrongful arrest, illegal detention, and the trauma inflicted on his family. According to Marshall, the police showed him a recording of one of the alleged arsonists accusing him of facilitating the payment for the job, only to recant the statement days later. Marshall was then released on $100,000 bail, but still has to report to the police every Tuesday, despite the fact that he is yet to be charged for any crime. This morning, several employees of the National Parks Commission staged a picketing exercise outside of the Commission's office in Georgetown. They are protesting in response to what they deem as disrespect from the Commission's management to their workers' union. Last week, Gawu sought a meeting with the Commission to discuss certain matters. However, the Commission bluntly refused to engage the union's officer. Now, the union is seeking to engage the management regarding 12 matters, one of which include the quality of personal protective equipment being provided to employees. 92 out of some 938 public schools across the nation are scheduled to reopen their doors for full face-to-face learning next week, while the remaining 846 are slated to reopen on a rotational basis. This includes 41 of 348 nursery schools, 44 of 413 primary schools, and 7 out of 126 schools operating fully. But the full reopening of these schools will be based on the results of the vaccination campaign, of the secondary schools, that is, while the opening of nursery schools will be based on the availability of space, the number of students, and teaching staff. If you want to find if your child's school is on the list, just Google it, because the ministry ain't paying me to advertise. Guyanese businessman Chris Prasad, the owner of the Jamaica Talawas, plans to construct a shore base at a cost of US $200 million. As it turns out, he's also the owner of TriStar Incorporated. You probably remember TriStar as that random Johnny-come-lately oil services company that just knocked down acres of mangroves on the West Bank. You know, the same one that Juan Edgel came out here and justified was necessary in the name of progress. It was noted that the project has already received all regulatory approvals and construction will commence shortly. But, as if to atone for their environmental sins, TriStar donated around $25,000 to the Guyana Marine Conservation Society to support scientific research in the Barima Mora Passage mangrove forests in Region 1. GMCS said this support will enable the commencement of a much-needed riverine fisheries study. Are you one of the chosen few that benefits from duty-free? If yes, check out these amazing vehicles that just arrived at Best Buy Auto Sales. This 2016 Toyota Harrier Grand Sport Edition, this 2014 Range Rover Evoque, and this 2016 Lexus RX 200T are all on sale. They are all fully loaded and come with all modern features. Call or WhatsApp 662-0844 for more info, or visit their showrooms at Lot 171 Peter Rose Street, Queenstown, or Lot 2 Lamar Street, and tell them Noriko sent you to get in on a sweet deal. Police are currently investigating the murder of 39-year-old pastry vendor Dexter Prince. The police say that Prince was shot by one of 2 gunmen during a robbery in Ondenaming Sandpit on the Essequibo coast. He was reportedly selling pastries out of the back of a minibus when he was attacked by the 2 men. Persons in the area have been complaining about an increase in robberies and other violent attacks in the past month, and have been reportedly begging the police to have an increased presence in the area. Over in Linden, police are investigating the fiery death of an employee at the Bowsai Mineral Group. Early Sunday morning, 39-year-old plant operator Curtis Robertson was seen engulfed in flames shortly after starting his shift at work. The fire was extinguished by one of his colleagues. He was taken to the hospital with third and even fourth-degree burns all over his body, only to succumb to the burns soon after. While it's still under investigation, detectives did find Robertson's haversack and what appeared to be a burnt plastic bottle and a box of matches in a small concrete structure in the company's compound. Unfortunately, things aren't too rosy in Berbice either, as 11 persons are currently in police custody after they were accused of drunkenly killing a popular Hindu priest. Elderly Pandit Rishi Bharat was beaten to death on Saturday night after asking a group of men who were gathered outside of his yard to lower their music and to please party elsewhere. The Pandit, who armed himself with a piece of wood when he approached the men because he had allegedly been threatened in the past by them. A heated confrontation between the 60-year-old and the men started, and during the argument, one of the men attacked the Pandit while the others joined in on the senseless violence. Don't miss the grand 50% off sale and get a free 1-month digital Prime bundle plan, available at City Mall, Starbrook Square, Regent and Light Street, Marcy Turkine, and Marcy Providence. Shop early, limited stocks available. It's now time for today's Run Report. Today, the nation recorded 80 new cases. There are now 613 persons dead, 31 in the ICU, which, by the way, is literally the highest amount that we've had in the ICU so far, and 1,740 persons in home isolation. The total number of confirmed cases around the nation now stands at 25,403. So please, people, wash your hands frequently. Avoid touching your nose and mouth and mask up before you leave the house. When you do leave home, try to avoid enclosed spaces and large crowds. And remember to give 6 feet of space between you and others, because as you can clearly see, the Delta variant is here, and it's getting people sick. Over in Trinidad, last Saturday, one truck driver was rescued from drowning in a river, only to be robbed by his rescuers. According to the Trinidad Guardian, Terrence Joseph's truck had fallen off a bridge in Moruga when 3 men sprung into action and fished him out of the river. He said in a confused state he pulled out his wallet and his Samsung phone. Seeing that he was injured, one of the men told him to clean off his wounds in the river water. But by the time he got back, the men were gone, as was his phone and 1,400 Trinidadian dollars from his wallet. And now for our stupid news of the day. You know what I think is stupid? The fact that the government has not been forthcoming with the final cost of the Gas to Shore project, still to this day. While they did admit that the project may actually cost as much as $1 billion, that is still hundreds of millions of dollars below the estimate of one oil consultant. As the only traditional media house in Guyana that hasn't completely sold out to the oil men, Guyana News recently interviewed an oil consultant who pointed out a very obvious fact that we are all neglecting. Corruption and bribery is endemic in the global infrastructure construction industry. But he called them cost overruns, so no one gets offended. So these cost overruns often end up inflating the price tag by 40%. But he's not alone. The Center for Public Integrity said the number is actually 45%, and often more, as initial estimates for capital costs for such projects are almost never correct. It was also noted that in some cases where the price tag has actually doubled or even tripled by the time it was complete. And seeing as this nation has never built a piece of major infrastructure on time and on budget, I am not too optimistic for this one either. In fact, this is why I will spend the rest of this week giving you my 5 main reasons as to why I don't believe the project is a good idea for our country. I'll explain why I feel the possible environmental impact is just not worth it in tomorrow's episode. You there, Mr. Truck Owner. A great place to get high-quality truck parts and engine spares for low prices is Powered Automotive. They stock parts for DAF, Freightliner, Mach, International, and all models of Cummins engines. Visit them at Lot 1161 EE Eccles or call them on 697-0171. Save big on truck parts at Powered Automotive, the #1 heavy-duty truck parts store in Guyana. Real thing. Moving on to Uncut News Views poll question of the day. Every day we post a question about current events in the nation, the region, the diaspora, and how you feel it relates to us. So you give your responses in the comment, and we'll read the best ones in the following episode. Friday's question was, do you believe the people who were arrested for attempting to rig the election will actually be sentenced? Angie the Atheist said, yes, I believe 2 out of 3 of them will see jail time, and when that happens, the Avenue AFC political party will come forward and make a public apology to the Guyanese people. Oh, I guess that means should come forward and apologize, because you know they're not going to apologize willingly. Jerry Bunk said, the government will stretch out this case for the next 3.5 years until elections. No one will go to jail. Just like many cases before. Chief T doubts anyone's going to jail. He says that they'll just have to pay a fine, and that will start a riot, not just in Guyana alone, but protests all over the Caribbean. I'm presuming he means through Guyanese who are already over there, like what they did over in New York. Which is actually kind of what Carl Smith said. He said, your question should be, if found guilty, do you think Avenue election officials will go to jail? My answer is no one will be found guilty. There would be a riot and bacchanal all over Guyana and protests in the Caribbean and in Brooklyn, Queens. Everyone will walk, and all is well. No need to get Hakeem Jeffries upset. Gotta love it. So for tonight's question, how do you feel about the Ministry of Education's decision to embrace what basically seems like a phased reopening of schools? Is it a good idea, or do you think it could be done better? Think about that question and tell us in the comments below. If your response is good enough, we just might feature it in our next episode. Anyway, that's all the time we have for tonight. Check us out tomorrow for another. Until then, I'm Rico Bulford saying good night, folks. Hey, Uncut News viewers, thanks for watching. You can subscribe by clicking on this button over here, or click over there for more news. You can also drop a comment to let me know if you've made it to the end of the video. Goodbye for now.